Making the right choices in our diets has a huge impact on the onset of these chronic diseases, which are so widespread in Western society, and even impact on the second most dominant cause of death, the cancer, is also related to dietary choices.
Action!
Welcome to the Spirit of Yoga. In this solo episode, we will explore how we can expand our lifespan, how to live a long, happy, and healthy life. Fulfillment on all levels is the yogic aspiration to live in harmony and in this sweet, harmonious equilibrium of neither too much nor too little. Finding that yogic integrity is the name of the game. And as the topic of our month here at Akasha Yoga is expansion, we will dive deeper into the topic of expanding our lifespan. And before we come to that, we need to understand that it's not just about living many years, a long lifespan of not just 82, but 86 years, or 92, or 112 years. Not just the duration, but the so-called health span. How many of those years are we actually in good shape that we can really enjoy those additional years of our lifespan? So that is by now a very common and popular term, not just lifespan, but health span. Not just how long we live, but how much of that duration that we live is in a healthy and vital condition that we can actually do the things we love. And that depends, of course, on our individual preferences, what is important for us. But more or less, we probably want to have some mobility, some physical independence, that we can dress ourselves, that we can pick up some stuff, our shoppings and laundry, that we can maybe interact with our future grandkids and sit with them on the ground and play, and that we're able to go for a swim and still get out of the swimming pool. Like whatever that is important for you, you should define that very clearly. At age 75, at age 85, I still want to be able to do this and that. And then calculate backwards from that. Okay, what do I need to do now to still be able to do those things in older age? So it is on the one hand about physical mobility, vitality, strength, etc., but also in many ways about the absence of disease. And we'll look later closer at that topic, what we can to do to prevent those diseases, which will thus in turn limit our health span and make us less vital in our old age. Apart from the physical, also not to underestimate the psychological, neurodegenerative diseases, meaning our nervous system is degenerating, is falling apart, and the infamous diseases such as Alzheimer's and dementia are in a way very prevalent, very widespread, and very feared. Because yes, then we live a long time, but we're, psychologically speaking, vegetables. We are not in charge and in control of our own life anymore, and most people are not interested in this type of extended lifespan. So what can we do to prevent the onset of such neurodegenerative diseases? So that is the topic in general. We want to live long and healthy lives. We want to be happy and not just have sensory satisfaction, pleasure, but we want to live joyful lives characterized by fulfillment. And that, of course, also involves relationships, connections, social network, and generally speaking, meaning and purpose of life. And that has also been shown in various studies that this is actually a central ingredient to lifespan and perceived health span, how happy I am in my older age, how much social coherence I have, meaning how well and harmoniously am I connected, how beneficial and uplifting are my relationships, how much do I feel connected to something meaningful, how much do I feel to have still purpose of life, is it even useful, does it even make sense for me to stick around longer? And if I'm isolated, alone, feeling lonely, isolated from family and meaningful contribution in my subculture, in my immediate surroundings, if I feel I cannot have an impact, I don't really make any difference anymore. What difference will it make if I'm still here or not? Then the tendency is that I will give up and I will let loose and kind of let myself go in a negative, not only unproductive way, but in a way lack of meaning, lack of sense and purpose. And then old people can frequently be seen to like be run down, like not well kept anymore, not being around so many people anymore, isolated at home, maybe due to some injury or chronic disease, being bedridden, having limited mobility, not going out much anymore, then why should I shave in the morning? Why should I wash my hair again? And then in the surroundings, like not being able anymore to keep up the household. And then there can be a tendency of running ourselves down. And then other people come to visit us, but then they don't want to be really around us anymore because we're kind of like stagnant, passive, and in a way, not engaged, not inspiring, not uplifted anymore, getting depressive. And then others are not wanting to be around us. Then we get even more isolated. So we can imagine scenarios like this. But the question is, of course, what can we do against it? How can we prevent that? How can we not only be the best version of ourselves now, but continue to be in this uplifted state of being? So being around others, as just described, this social coherence also brings, in a sense, a connection, a meaning, like even without having a formal agreement, an accountability that when we go out once per week to do whatever older people might enjoy doing, bowling type of, go for hiking, go for a walk, have a meeting where they discuss this or that. So social connection, like it's kind of not really, I don't want to say not tolerated, but there's a social dynamic, shared expectation that we dress up at least in a basic level, not with having to show off and putting on makeup, pretending, that's not the point, but still being well kept. And if I go out, just I don't want to be completely run down. So then I get myself together to show up for others because they expect me to be there. Even basic things like having an exercise workout partner. Alone, I might be like, come on, I'm going to skip today. I'll just do it again tomorrow, next week. But if I have a workout exercise accountability partner, it's just like, no, once per week, every Saturday afternoon, we go running together and then we go in the sauna. I'm not going to skip that because otherwise people will think like, wow, where were you? So things like this, whatever examples, anecdotes you come up with, but you see the point, how the social coherence makes the whole difference for us to not show off, but show up, to continue to be the best version of ourselves without competition being necessary for that, just out of integrity and social accountability. And then I also have, in a way, the responsibility to overcome some of my negative depressive tendencies, because people will just not agree if I'm just always whining and complaining. And I choose maybe also wisely that I'm not around such people who are dragging me down. So I choose uplifting company, surroundings, people who are holding me to higher positive standards. So all these things make a huge difference and are underestimated. There's huge longitudinal studies over years and decades where they were following graduates from different universities and seeing how they developed in old age. And one of the key determining factors which they found to be shared across these populations across decades was actually that social coherence, that meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in life. So, not to underestimate, frequently underestimated in the biohacking and longevity community. And that, of course, also then relates psychological ingredients which we cultivate in yogic contemplation, in meditation, where we cultivate a clear and pure mind and positive thoughts and have that lucidity, have ways of dealing with our subconscious garbage and baggage and negativity, doing the shadow work, etc. There's, of course, many tips and tricks which we discuss and explore in other sessions on our YouTube channel and in our advanced courses. So much on the topic of the social and psychological ingredients, which help us to expand our lifespan and even our health span to live a happy and healthy long life. So, in addition to those social and psychological factors, we of course also need to look at other more physical variables and ingredients which help us to live longer and fulfilled lives. So, the obvious ones which come to mind are, of course, the previously mentioned physical vitality, the strength and mobility, and even the balance of our body. Because if we are not balanced, then we will fall. And if we fall, especially in older age, it's very likely that we get injuries. When we have injuries, we can move even less. When we move even less, we lose even more muscles than we anyhow lose in old age. When we lose even more muscles, we get even weaker, and then we recover even slower, and our physical mobility decreases even more. So, not to underestimate the importance of balance. And yes, of course, in yoga, we cultivate that in one-legged standing poses, such as the tree pose, standing on one leg, the eagle pose, Garudasana, and others, where we cultivate that balance, that integrity in our mobility. But of course, also the flexibility in itself that yoga is so famous for. Of course, I still want to be able to take on my own shoes and tie them properly, which maybe now at your age sounds kind of like, yeah, of course. But you must have seen elderly people in their 60s, 70s, and latest 80s who struggle with dressing themselves, etc. So, what do I need to do in my 40s, 50s, 60s to then not deteriorate and degenerate even more? That with age 72, I'm not anymore able to do basic things of common human vital mobile life. So then we can work backwards from there. Okay, mobility, some stretching, forward folds, back bends, side rotation, twisting. Some people struggle in older age to drive cars because they cannot look over their shoulders anymore to check what's behind them. So then in old age, we tend to be like, the neck gets stiff and tight, lack of mobility there. Rotation. How can I cultivate and amplify rotation? In this moment, our cameraman here sees exactly the point, and he's doing some neck rolls and head rolls. So we're like, yeah, it's true. So neck rolls, careful, be gentle with that. And then also the rotation, the turning. How can I do that? Seated spinal twist pose. I can cultivate that rotation and even amplify, develop that in my younger age, because I know experience shows in older age that rather goes down further and further. So you get the point: mobility, flexibility, balance. So this we cultivate a lot in yoga, but also we need to look into the cardiovascular health. So here we find in yoga an emphasis on that in the more dynamic styles, such as vinyasa flow, such as some styles of hot yoga, such as practices like sun salutations, the famous Surya Namaskar, more dynamic flows, where we get the heartbeat increased and we get that circulation rolling. So, highly recommendable in the yoga context to do such exercises, but also other more classical cardiovascular workouts are very important. Not to underestimate there the so called zone 2 cardio, which is actually not really strong, sweaty cardio stuff, but just going for a swift walk, a bit like this Nordic walking with the sticks, which is a bit more of an engaged type of walking, fast, swift walks, where we are still able to entertain a conversation and talk to a person that we are walking with. But just, no, we're not out of breath. I struggle to formulate the next sentence. But there is some challenge in it. So this is a simple, easy way to access where your heart rate and intensity of your cardio is. And this zone 2 cardio is actually recommended to do for at least 2, better 3 hours per week. And this is the baseline and builds our cardiovascular health and gives us that foundation. And then we complement that with some 2, 3, 4 sessions of high intensity zone 5 workouts, where it's not just kind of being out of breath, but going all the way. These bursts, these sprints that are cultivated in the HIIT, HIIT, high intensity interval training. And there's various routines and disciplines and workouts for that. But the key is that we go all in, all out, like giving it your all and then taking a moment to recover again. 20, 30, 40 seconds all in, full exhaustion, like till the max, and then recover for 20, 30, 40 seconds, a minute. And then again, go all in. And that 4 times in a row. All in, recover. All in, recover. 4 times in a row. And then maybe take a bit of a break, ease off, relax a bit, and then again. 4 times 4 is a classical format of this high intensity interval training. So challenging our cardiovascular system with a basic zone 2, just being able to talk while fast walk, and the high intensity zone 5 stuff. That on the cardiovascular health, super important for our longevity, that we can still walk up some stairs and in old age are not just after 2, 3 steps already like, we don't want to spend from age 85 to 95. Okay, we have long lifespan, that's great. But if my last 10 years I can barely walk up more than 2, 3 steps at once, and otherwise my heart, I get palpitations, it's like too much, can we walk slower? No, then I better die with 85. I don't want to become 95 in that state of being. See, not just lifespan, but health span. What do we need for it? Cardiovascular health vitality. What can we do for it now? Yeah, go a bit overboard, over the top, and really be solid for our age group in average, proportionally be even fitter than my peers around me. Because anyhow, I know in the next decades it will degenerate, and my cardiovascular health will decrease. You get the point. So, in addition to flexibility, mobility, stability, balance, we have the cardiovascular endurance, we could call it. And last but not least, we have, of course, the strength, which we develop in body weight exercises as we do them in yoga. Type of chair pose, Utkatasana squats, which strengthens our thighs, which is super helpful for our strength to walk stairs in older age, etc. So body weight exercises, in yoga we have a lot of them. And then, of course, we can amplify and make the muscle training even more efficient if we use some resistance, rubber bands, or if we even do some weight training. As well as some calisthenics, such as push-ups, as we do them in sun salutation, chaturanga dandasana, even some pull-ups at some bar, dead hangs, strengthening our grip strength. Super important also, key indicator for the integrity of our upper body strength and all the benefits which come from that. So that was a whole other pillar, which is of paramount importance for our lifespan and health span. So we discussed in great length the psychological, social aspects of our lifespan, health span, the whole accountability, social, psychological fulfillment, happiness, clarity ingredients. Then we looked at the physical aspects of strength and mobility, cardiovascular health, etc. And now we come to a third pillar of our extended lifespan and the joyful health span in that, and that is sleep. Frequently underestimated the importance of sleep. So crucial to get sufficient high quality sleep. The duration of our sleep and the depth of our sleep. And additionally, the timing, the chronological consistency, the same timing of going to bed every day is another key ingredient of our sleep quality and the recovery that we are getting from our sleep. So don't underestimate the importance of sleep. Try to get at least 6 hours on a regular basis. But a lot of scientific evidence points more and more to benefits of longer sleep duration. Rather 7 hours, 7.5. Some research even points to benefits of 8 hours of daily night's sleep to have an optimal level of recovery. So the duration of key importance, not just time spent in the bed, but time actually sleeping. For example, just yesterday, a friend told me, recently being here in wonderful Bali on a retreat, he had such amazing sleep. The depth, the quality was also even better. The duration was even longer because once per night he wakes up and needs to go to the bathroom, but then he could immediately fall asleep again. Whereas usually it takes him half an hour, 45 minutes to fall asleep again in the middle of the night. So, you see, not just the duration you spend in bed, but that you are actually sleeping. So, the duration, total number of hours, the depth, meaning the quality of sleep, how aggravated, how tight and nightmare, hellish is my sleep, or how sweet are my dreams, how deep is the softness, the peace, the recovery. And this we have in our own hands a lot, actually, by the preparation of the sleep. How do we tune in? How do we get ready for sleep? And that is done a lot by winding down, calming down, and toning down our nervous system in the evening hours, reducing the blue light exposure and replacing it with more soft, low volume, meaning non-bright, dimmed down red light in the evening. So definitely make use in basically all devices on all operating systems. By now you can have a nighttime, evening sleep mode where you can automatically get it timed by the daytime hours, or you set it manually after 7 o'clock p.m. or 9 o'clock, whenever. You put a blue light filter, which makes your screen look more red. And then you have a cut-off time yourself. You can even set timers on your device. After 9 o'clock, no more social media. After 9:30, no more this and that. By 10 o'clock, airplane mode. You can have a differentiated, clear routine which you set on your device. If you don't trust yourself, even set it up with parental locks that your partner needs to help you to unlock. And I urgently need to check my messages, even though it's 11 o'clock already. Okay, you get permission for 5 minutes to unlock again and do your urgent thing, but then you come, wind down, and we sleep. So protect yourself from the addictive devices that we carry around all day long, especially in the evening. Wind down. Do something more peaceful, calming. Ideal would be a sauna or other yin yoga, restorative, peaceful practices, some contemplation, meditation, some diary writing, etc., helping us to wind down. Obviously, we don't want to watch a horror movie or a thriller at 11:45 at night, and then we finally go to bed and we're just wired. Obviously, our sleep quality will be compromised. It's common sense, yet frequently we don't follow those simple, obvious recommendations. And then, as mentioned briefly before, the timing, the regularity, going to bed every night at the same hour, being very committed to that, especially avoiding this weekend up and down. That is a common thing which we have, especially in younger party life. But also generally trying to avoid these changes in bedtime. Following there the chronobiology, our circadian rhythms, where our hormonal system is actually very attuned to those rhythms. And this you can set on also in the morning when you wake up, exposing yourself to bright sunlight in the early morning hours. The sun is pretty safe in the early morning after sunrise. Getting some bright sun directly in your eyes is super important to set your inner clock. Good, that as an introduction on the sleeping topics, super important for the maintenance and revitalization of all our systems. I'll briefly touch just on the topic of diet and nutrition. That is obviously also of paramount importance for our not only lifespan extension but health span. And it is very clearly scientifically proven that our dietary choices make a huge difference in the onset of the widespread diseases, which are in a way the main causes of death. At the top of the list is the sad topic of cardiovascular diseases, the heart strokes and related problems of arteriosclerosis and other chronic diseases, which are shortening our not only lifespan, making us die earlier from a heart attack, but also our health span, because then we have compromised vitality in older age. So dietary choices make a huge impact on cardiovascular diseases, but also on many of the metabolic diseases. And one of the inflationary increasing diseases is the diabetes type 2, which is mostly caused by problematic lifestyle choices, not only related to the plain white sugar and the obvious overcharge in glucose levels coming from soft drinks, sodas, but also the extracted carbohydrates as we find them in white flour and many of the fluffy breads. Even overdose of fruits, the fructose, if we overdose on an ongoing basis, empty stomach, too much fruit, even orange juice, especially without fiber, if the fruit doesn't have the fiber anymore, then the sugar from the fruit juice gets very quickly absorbed in the bloodstream, spikes our blood sugar levels, and then the insulin response in the body throws everything out of balance, and the pancreas, the main organ for the insulin production, gets depleted, and we get the diabetes problems coming in younger and younger age. So yes, avoiding not only the sodas but also the fruit juices, and then of course a variety of other dietary choices which influence our metabolism, our intake and output of nutrients. So making the right choices in our diets has a huge impact on the onset of these chronic diseases which are so widespread in Western society, and even impact on the second most dominant cause of death, the cancer, is also related to dietary choices. So especially there, the grilled, burnt, and preserved meat products are known to be carcinogenic. The World Health Organization classifies the preserved processed meat, the salami type of sausages, being put on a grill and being half burnt. This type of meat products are clearly proven to increase the risk of cancer. They are classified by the World Health Organization as carcinogenic. at a similar level as asbestos, which is a very infamous construction material known to cause cancer. So don't underestimate the impact of dietary choices. So yes, of course, what we eat, but then also how much we eat, quantity and calorie intake. Lack of fiber, again, leads to even more calorie intake via soft drinks, sodas, juices, etc. So amount of calories, amount of quantity of food intake, overeating, binging, stuffing ourselves, etc. Especially on holiday family events, but also on a daily basis. Binge eating, especially in the evening, nighttime before sleep, is known to be problematic. So regulating your food intake, not only what you eat, but how much you eat, but also when you eat. I just mentioned not directly before sleeping, big meal overeating, but having the main calorie intake rather in the breakfast, lunchtime, and light dinner is proven to be beneficial. And then even protocols such as intermittent fasting, extending the nighttime fast for extended periods. So not breaking the fast with a breakfast early, but breaking it a bit later. Instead of eating at 7 a.m. in the morning, eating at 9, 10, or 11 o'clock, maybe starting with a brunch right there. So break fast. Break breakfast, not so early, but later. And then you can reduce your period of food intake to something like 4, 6, 8 hours, that you are not eating from morning to night, but in a shortened feeding window, as they call it in animal studies, where this has clearly been shown to improve the lifespan and health span, even if it is just for the fact of the calorie restriction, calorie reduction, without having to count the calories, but just intuitively in 2 meals per day or 3 meals per day, which are a bit shorter together, more closely together, we tend to eat comparatively less. And that is also shown for the plant-based diets, because they tend to have more fiber. If it is a healthy, well-planned vegan diet, there tends to be more fiber. That gives more of a sense of satience, of being filled already quickly. If we eat slowly, putting our fork or spoon down between the stuffing, so chewing thoroughly, and in this way slowing down our eating process, gives a biofeedback more clearly that I think I had enough. So reducing calorie intake with such tricks can make the whole difference. Delay the onset of the chronic diseases such as heart attacks, cardiovascular diseases, even cancers, and the mentioned metabolic diseases. That will definitely help to expand our lifespan and the healthy health span. So the different ingredients of living a long, happy, and fulfilled life. We discussed in a strong emphasis in this episode the topic of the psychological and social aspects. We looked into the topic of mobility and stability, as well as cardiovascular health and strength training. Then we looked at the topic of sleep, how long we sleep, how deep we sleep, and the regularity of the timing of our sleep. And we looked at the nutrition dietary aspects, what we eat, how much we eat, and when we eat. So you don't need to be perfect in all of those 4 areas. Don't worry, you're fine. But for sure, you can upgrade in all of those 4 areas a little bit. So it helps to evaluate for yourself, in which of those areas am I kind of below average? Where am I screwing up the most? Where am I still fooling around and creating a huge mess for my vitality? So identify 1 or 2 areas in your life where you can quite easily upgrade, and then tackle those low-hanging fruits and improve 10, 15%, taking it from 50% to 65% in one of those 4 areas. Already makes a whole difference. Getting off this sedentary lifestyle and at least walking more, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, walking from here to there instead of taking the motorbike or the car or bus. No, I walk there. Or I take the bicycle instead of taking the subway. No, these small changes make a whole difference if you can establish new habits with continuity around them. So you upgrade here a little bit. Next month, you focus on that. In that season, you improve a bit here. That you have all four of those areas, let's say at least at a 3/4 level, 75, 80%. You want to be covered on those four areas on a decent average. Of course, you got to determine, get some outside feedback from some experts, professionals. What is a decent level? What does 80% mean? Okay, this is what I can aspire for. Step by step. You don't need to be perfect in all four of them. If you just cover the basics, you actually already get so much gain, and you delay the onset of diseases, and you, in this way, improve the all-cause mortality. All the reasons which make us die early, you can reduce those risks significantly. So that an overview in the topic of expanding our lifespan into healthy, long, and happy years to come. I trust that you found some inspiration. I assure you that we have plenty and plenty of further tips and tricks to share. So I encourage you to sign up for our calendar, where you receive notifications about all the different ingredients, the practices, the tools, the methods, tips and tricks, inspiration, quotes, ideas, solutions to your happy and healthy life. So find the link in the description or show notes, and sign up for regular invitations to join more eye-opening content. I'm looking forward to welcoming you for further beneficial actions, that we're not just talking about it, but that we are practicing what we teach, that we walk the talk. That was Wisdom in Motion, and I trust that you keep on shining in the spirit of yoga. Looking forward to the next steps of this shared healthy journey. Om.